Arcade Heroes.
Greetings, it's Adam with ArcadeHeroes.com, and I'm back to talk about some pinball. Last time I did, I was doing something that I generally don't do, and that was discussing a rumor. Now, granted, with pinball, I've noticed that rumors tend to be true in that segment of the market, whereas on the video side, it's almost never correct. But yeah, with that video I did about the Venom pinball one, well, that just didn't pan out. Now, granted, it is accurate that oftentimes they're always working on multiple designs. Every pinball manufacturer is, and sometimes they might change around the release schedule as to which design is going to come first, and so there is a possibility that there actually is a Venom pinball machine in development, but they decided to move things around and not release that now or at the San Diego Comic-Con when that rumor was flying about, and decided instead to go with James Bond 007 because, of course, that does have its 60th anniversary, and so it makes sense to strike while the iron's hot there. That, as we have on ArcadeHeroes.com, a brief look at this. So I'll just go over some of the features and differences between the two, and we'll discuss. So first off, we have, that's a bit huge. I guess we'll go to Stern's website and look at it here. So we have 4 models of James Bond: Pro, Premium, Limited, and 60th Anniversary Limited Edition. Generally, you'll see limited editions just called LEs. Now, if you're new to pinball and not sure what the difference is other than the base appearance, is yes, they always do have different artwork for each model, but there will be different features. Generally speaking, Pro versions are going to be the base model. They'll be the cheapest, which means they'll have the fewest features, whereas Premium and Limited editions, they actually share the exact same playfields. Limited ones will also have a few other bells and whistles, but they don't necessarily affect gameplay. Sometimes they'll have better sound systems, and they'll have like art blades, as they call them, on the sides, and a certificate of authenticity, and some extra armor on the side, they call it, and just, some smaller changes, but still cost a lot more money. But we will get into each of these here, starting with the Pro Edition. Now, one thing you can tell right off the bat is that this is based upon Sean Connery's James Bond, which to me is no surprise whatsoever. For one, you have to understand Stern. They know their target market, and their target market tends to be guys who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s for the most part. Yeah, there are some younger people into pinball, and there are women who play pinball as well, but the biggest chunk of the market that's really interested in not just arcades that buy them, but people who buy them for their homes, are guys in that demographic. And that's also why you see so many pinball machines based on older rock bands, as they sell very well there. And a big chunk of Stern's sales happens to come from home users, not from arcades. And I don't know what the current cut on that or divide on that is. I've heard in the past it was something like 40% of their game sales went to home collectors and 60 to businesses, but I think after the pandemic that shifted some. And so in that regard, it makes sense as to why you would go with the older property. But also, when I've looked up like top Bond list, like which actor did the best portrayal of James Bond, I've always seen Sean Connery come out on top. And so that just makes perfect sense to me. Even if Stern's target market wasn't that older demographic, it would still make sense just because he tends to still top the charts as from the fan perspective. But anyways, looking at the Pro Edition of the game, we have, Stern was kind enough to put up these feature trailers. And so let's take a look here. And so this one's obviously based upon the very first Bond film, Dr. No, showing off Stern's Insider Connected thing, which is included with every single new machine. It's a 3 flipper game and 2 ramps. It's nice that they have the wire ramps instead of the plastic stuff. I'm not a big fan of the plastic ones. The rocket base, which is on a spring, so it bounces around. And it will play clips from the different films, the Sean Connery ones, and you can see on the playfield there where it lights up different ones: Dr. No, Goldfinger, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, etc. Diamonds Are Forever. And yeah, I gotta battle the henchmen and all that. All the lighting in this would be the LEDs. Fortunately, they've learned how to keep the LEDs from being too powerful there, as they were back in the day with like Star Trek. But that is the Pro model, and there's of course pictures here. This is on Stern's website. Has kind of their press release discussion of that. Now the MSRP on this, it's a bit higher than it has been, but the cost on Pinball, like everything else out there, has been going up. But now seeing pros going at $7,000, it's like, oh man, it just a few years back, your pros were in the $5,400 range. So that gives you an idea of just how much it's going up. And as I've discussed in another video, it's unfortunate because Pinball already has a very difficult time making money on a location like this. And again, if you're interested in that, you can check out the video there, and I get into the reasons as to why I think that is. Now, sometimes there are themes which tend to do better than others and hold their own. I have no idea how a James Bond one would do in comparison to your normal ones. I mean, it's typical. Anytime I get a brand new PIM machine in, no matter what it is, it'll do well for a while, but then it just sinks to a certain level, and then I'll get times where sometimes my old Adams family is making as much as a brand new one, and so that kind of sucks, but that's how it seems to go down. Let's check out the Premium and LE. Hopefully I don't get dinged because it's using this song on here, but the premium ones are based on You Only Live Twice. And now this is typical of premiums, where it has pretty much everything that the pros have, but it just has some extra changes where, in my opinion, most premiums play better than the pros. It's rare where a pro actually plays better than the premium. So like this one has a James Bond figurine on the jetpack, which has a little electromagnet on it, so you can hit that target on that car, which has also been added. It still has the ball lock, but now it has this ball elevator with the kind of corkscrew ramp for it, some drop targets, or that's what was there in the Pro as well. That you want to lock those. To be honest, I mean, just from first impressions, it seems a little empty compared to some pinball designs, and it's always hard to say. Oh yeah, it has the underwater area with the bobbing figurines fighting there, and then from what I know, the rest is kind of similar. But let's see, one nice thing at the bottom of every Stern game page is you get these extra materials, and so one of the most useful, I mean, they have the flyers, which can be useful depending, but the most useful is the feature matrix. So this is a PDF that Stern releases for all their games now. It's very convenient because when Stern started doing different models, it was a bit of a chore to figure out what the differences were between the games, and so this helps. The features matrix always starts off by listing the main attractions, which would come on every single machine. In this case, it's trying to put you in the role of being James Bond as you team up with key allies, that would be Bond girls, to stop Spectre's villainous schemes, and Q's there to help you out, to talk about the gadgets and stuff. It has footage, clips, music from Sean Connery's 6 films, from Dr. No to Diamonds Are Forever. And it looks like the artist on this was Kevin O'Connor. And looking down here, George Gomez is the one who designed this. And George Gomez, if you're into pinball, that's a name that you would likely know pretty well because he's responsible for many pinball designs. And I think he's one of Stern's vice presidents at this point. But if it's not a name you're familiar with, you definitely or probably have played one of his games, or you've heard of one of his video games that he did for Midway back in the day, and that would be Spy Hunter. I can't remember his full resume on video game creations. Again, it's been mostly the pinball side of stuff. But looking down here with the LE only game features, as I mentioned, limited to 1,000 machines, get a certificate of authenticity. Each one autographed by George Gomez, and special numbering plate, a Thunderball limited edition mirrored back glass. I love mirrored back glasses, they are cool. High definition cabinet art, so just higher quality cabinet art than what the other two models would get, higher resolution assets. And this also has an upgraded speaker system with 3-channel amplifier, and this is something that Stern's been doing more of in recent years as Jersey Jack Pinball had been doing this anti-reflection or like museum play-filled glass, so there's very little reflection on the surface, which is really nice, especially if the back box is very busy. Sometimes that reflection kind of gets in the way of the action. And so that's with the LEs. Shaker motor is there, and then the pinball armor, it's all aquamarine teal, powder coated and clear coated, and hinges, an action button on the front molding. Okay, yeah, looking at the different cabinets in the center, it has an action button on each. So I hadn't noticed that before. And then you get into the overall game features, and this is where it can get a little bit confusing sometimes. Although you'll notice here, between the Pro Premium LE, they actually share a lot of features. From here on down, it's all the same. The differences, as I mentioned, you have the custom sculpted James Bond figure on the jetpack that magnetically grabs the ball. Whereas on the Pro, it's only a jetpack plastic, kind of lame. Although I'm sure there will be somebody who does mods to change that out with a figurine. Stainless steel bird one gantry and 3-ball lock, which you saw in the video, whereas on the Pro, it's just a decorative bird one gantry. And Thunderball reverse eject scoop with hidden custom sculpted James Bond and Spectre Diver figures, and so that would be the underwater side, whereas on the Pro it's just a reverse eject scoop, and also premium as it showed the dragon tank. So it doesn't look like anything really that wasn't shown in the trailer, in the feature trailers there. But down here it also mentions some game modes like Q branch gadget modes. So if you complete certain targets, then it unlocks stuff. 007 scoring, that's when you would be pressing the action button. And if you're really good at the game, you would get to experience Her Majesty's Secret Service Wizard mode, which you access after you complete all of Bond's assignments. And with pinball, if you're a noob to it, that's what you're generally aiming for, is to unlock the wizard mode, as that's where things get really fun. But personally, I've never been able to get there. So maybe one day. I need to practice more. And of course, Insider Connected comes with all of them, which is Stern's new account login system and achievements system. And one thing that's cool about that is if you come to an arcade location, say like mine, you get what are called verified achievements, which are cooler and better than achievements you would get that are unverified if you, say, have the machine at home. They're not as cool, I guess. And so then it mentions the back glass art, hardware trim, general features. It's a 6-pinball game. They all have stereo sound with 3-channel amplifier. I guess it's just a more powerful amplifier in the LE version. You get a graphic equalizer and all of those sorts of things. So yeah, that's James Bond Pinball. The only other thing that I could probably add here is the pricing. Again, this is one of the most expensive Pro model that I recall seeing. Granted, maybe Rush was also this same price level. I don't recall. Let's see, premiums, MSRP, $9,699. Limiteds. Now, granted, pricing will vary a little bit depending on who your distributor is, but from when I sold pinball machines, margins on pinball is razor thin. The distributors don't have a lot of room to play with, and so if you're lucky, you'll save a few $100 at best. And then LEs, for those who have deep pockets, $13,000, and that doesn't include shipping and taxes. I would not be surprised for the 60th anniversary to cost even more. Now, this is not the most expensive pinball machine that Stern's ever released. That would actually still belong to the Beatles, which had a very basic play field, but I can't remember now what the pros came in at, but I do remember that the LEs, which I think they called the Diamond Edition, for that one, there was distributors trying to get $50,000 for those things, which, you know, the collector's market aspect of it. Now, will there be mods and stuff? So generally, there's the Stern shop, which will show things like toppers and other Stern-approved mods. That this would be too new to be showing that stuff off right now. On other games, if we go check those out, you can find those. Let me check the Mandalorian, since I have one of these sitting right over there. So yeah, here's where you can see like the Mandalorian shooter knob, which $130, art blades $100, side armor almost $300. It's unfortunately, from Stern's side, the mods tend to be pretty pricey. There are some other companies out there where they specialize on mods, where you can get some cool ideas and not have to spend quite as much on a lot of those things. But I've seen some of Stern's toppers before, which aren't very cool, and they're very, very expensive. Like the Jurassic Park one, I think it was something like $600-700, and it wasn't anything really special, so that was a big... I just avoided buying that topper. But anyways, let me know what you think about Stern Pinball's latest. Is this a design that interests you? And if so, which one would you go for? And of course, I'll have to wait and see how it plays. I probably won't get a chance to play this one for a couple of months, but I guess then I'll make a decision on whether I would go for it. But at those prices as an arcade operator, as I talked about in my other videos, it's hard to see me jumping on this one unless I maybe traded one of my existing machines for a bond. So in that case, I might be willing to do that, but buying one outright, it's not really in my view here in the near future. But again, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next video.